Today you're going to be learning the names and the values of all of the notes and rests. I think it's easiest to start with a note values tree, kind of like a family tree, and it's pretty quick if you can visualize this tree to memorize the names and the values of the notes and rests and to remember how they relate to one another. So at the top of our tree we have a whole note. It gets 4 beats. Our whole note branches off into 2 half notes. Each of those gets 2 beats. Our half notes branch into quarter notes, which get 1 beat. Our quarter notes branch into eighth notes, which get half a beat. And those branch off into our last level, 16th notes, which get 1/4 of a beat. You probably noticed each level as you go down, the values are getting smaller by half. Half of 4 is 2, half of 2 is 1, half of 1 is half, half of half is a fourth. Each level of the tree fills up an entire measure in 4/4. So this level, the whole note fills up a whole measure. That's why we call it a whole note and not a 4 note. This level, this is an entire measure's worth of half notes. This is an entire measure worth of quarter notes. So again, we have 4 beats in our measure, so we need 4 of these notes that get 1 beat to make 4 beats, to make a complete measure. Each of these gets half a beat. We're calling them eighth notes because it takes 8 of them to fill up a measure. And then finally our last level, the 16th notes. This is an entire measure of 16th notes. There are 16 of them in the measure. And now we're going to show you the rest values tree. Same deal, at the top we have the whole rest, 4 beats. Branches into half rests, 2 beats each, which branches into quarter rests, which get 1 beat each. Those branch into eighth rests, which get a half a beat. And finally, 16th rests, which get 1/4 of a beat. Again, as you go down, you cut the value in half. 4, half of that is 2, half of 2 is 1, half of 1 is half of half is a fourth. Each level of the tree, just like the previous screen, fills up an entire measure in 4/4. This is an entire measure. You only need 1 whole rest. The half rests, you need 2 of them because they're 2 beats each. 2 + 2 is 4. That's what our measure needs. We need 4 beats. Each of these gets 1, fills up the whole measure. These fill up a whole measure. These fill up a whole measure. 2 more important ones that don't fit in the tree, the dotted half note and rest. It's a half note plus a dot, and a half rest plus a dot. 3 beats each. And the dotted quarter, there's a dotted quarter note and rest. It's a quarter note with a dot. It's a quarter rest with a dot. 1.5 beats for each. You're going to encounter these very frequently, but they don't fit into the tree, so remember those. Okay. A lot of times, people remember either the name of the note or rest or the number of beats, but sometimes they don't remember the other. So if you know the name of the note, but you forgot how many beats it gets, here's what you're going to try to do. Strategy 1, you're going to use math. Let's say this is the note and you know the name is a half note, but you forgot how many beats. You know a half note is called that because it takes up half a measure. You know that a measure has 4 beats. Half of 4 is 2. This note gets 2 beats. Another strategy you can use if you know the name but you forgot how many beats, you can visualize a measure, a full measure of whatever that note or rest is, and divide it into 4 parts. So 16th note. Maybe you remember that this is called a 16th note, but you can't remember how many beats it gets. You know that the name of the note tells you something about how many of them go in a measure. 16th note takes up 1/16 of a measure, or put another way, 16 of these will fit in a measure, will fill up a measure. So you're going to draw 16 of them, and then you're going to divide it into 4 parts because there's 4 beats in the measure. Here's 16 of them. You're going to divide it into 4 sections. First section, there's your second beat, there's your third beat, there's your fourth beat. So how much of a beat does this note get? Well, here's 1 beat. This is 1 part out of a total 4, 1/4. Okay, if you know how many beats it gets, but you forgot the name of it, here's what you're going to do. More math. So let's say that you know that this thing gets half a beat. You know the measure needs 4 beats. You know that it's going to, if each of them get half a beat, it's going to take 8 of them to fill up a measure. Half plus 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 half equals 4. So it's an 8th rest. And that is pretty much it.